So what we have discussed in the last week?
Linear predictors.
Okay, so we discussed about linear predictor. That means
Link
the
function.
link function, then
Exponential
distribution of the
family.
data. Yes, exponential family of distribution. Who are the member
Distribution
of
of the data.
exponential family? Who are the member of exponential family of distribution?
Binomial,
Gamma,
Poisson, normal, gamma.
That's it.
binomial.
So we can start with the normal, then binomial, then Poisson, gamma, exponential, then negative binomial. Okay, inverse Gaussian, etc. Okay, then we talk about the linear predictors. That means the relation between expected response and the covariate is linear in nature. That means parameters are linear in nature. Okay. Then we talk about the various link function. What is the role of link function? Link function is useful to connect expected
Expected
response
response
to
to the
the
covariate.
covariate. Okay. So there are different nature of a link function. If you talk about the normal distribution, then link function is identical. For binomial, it is a logit. For a Poisson, it is a log. For a gamma, it is a inverse. Okay, so these are the various link functions are there, and the form of link function for a normal distribution theta equal to mu, binomial distribution theta equal to log 1 upon mu upon 1 minus mu. For a Poisson, it is a log mu. For a gamma, it is a 1 by mu, etc. Okay. So if we have the distribution of a data in our hand, if we know the what are the covariates which are affecting your response, and if you know the specific link function, we can apply the generalized linear model. There are two properties we need to remember while fitting generalized linear models. The first property is uncorrelatedness or stochastic independence, and second one is
Variance is a function of mean.
very good. Variance is a function of
Mean.
mean. It is known as a second order property. Okay. So on the line of a box and Jenkins, while fitting a generalized linear models, you should identify the model. That means model selection is the first step. Second step is estimation of the model. And for estimation, which techniques we apply? We usually apply the maximum likelihood estimation procedure. This maximum likelihood estimates of parameters of linear predictors we are obtaining. So how we are obtaining these parameters? By any transformation, we try to enter the parameters associated with the linear predictor function into the log likelihood. And then we take derivative with respect to these parameters of a log likelihood equated to 0 and obtain the second derivatives. If there are more parameters, we can obtain the Hessian matrix and then apply the some iterative procedure to obtain the parameters. So that we will see later on. After completion of this unit, we will jump into the estimation part. So once the parameter estimation is done, next question is we can go for the prediction. And for going for a prediction, we always look for the goodness of fit of a model. Which goodness of fit technique is suitable in generalized linear models?
R square.
R square is for
Adjust.
the regression analysis. Adjusted R square is also for a regression analysis where the regression must be the same. But here we talk about the generalized linear models. In a generalized linear models, we use some measure of goodness of fit or measure of discrepancy as a deviance.
Deviance.
So what is the deviance? So deviance is nothing but the difference between the observed and predicted. It is a sum function of difference between the observed and predicted expected response. Okay. So in our setup, if the deviance is lower, we say that the model is fitting well. Okay. So now the question is, what is the deviance? How to obtain the form of the deviance? What is the distribution of a deviance? Suppose we have two models are given. Which model is fitting well compared to each other? How we should decide it? For that, we will go for the concept of a deviance. So, deviance of model fitting. The parameters in a generalized linear models are usually estimated using maximum likelihood estimation. The log likelihood function, we denote it by Ly theta phi, that is nothing but log of capital Y theta phi, depends upon the parameters in the linear predictor to the link function. So log likelihood depends upon the parameters. Which parameters? It is the parameters of a linear predictor. But how it is dependent? It is through the link function. So through link function, we are allowing the coefficient or the parameters associated with the covariates in the linear predictor to the log likelihood. And then we take the derivative of this log likelihood with the parameters of a linear predictor and we obtain the estimate of them. Thus, the maximum likelihood estimates of the parameters may be obtained by maximizing L with respect to parameters in the linear predictor. So how will you maximize this? Of course, you maximize the log likelihood with respect to parameters in the linear predictor. In order to assess the adequacy of a model, adequacy means a model is really fitting well or not. In order to assess the adequacy of a model for describing a set of data, whatever the data is given to you and whatever the models we have taken, whether this model is suitable for the data or not, we can compare the likelihood under this model with likelihood under the saturated models. So we have considered some models. So we can have the likelihood based on the models and we have a data. So we have a likelihood under the data. So likelihood under the data, we call them as a saturated model. So in short, whether your model is fitting well or not, how we decide? Decide between the difference between the log likelihood under model consideration and log likelihood under saturated data. So model consideration means whatever the models we have taken, we obtain the estimate of the parameters and substitute their estimate into the log likelihood, and wherever the parameters are there we supply by the data, then it is said to be a saturated likelihood. So in saturated models or the saturated likelihood, there are no parameters. All the parameters is replaced by the data. That means it is completely known to us. A saturated model is defined to be a model in which there are as many as parameters as observation, so that fitted values are equal to the observed value. So wherever you can get the parameters, it should be replaced by the data. Or you can say that saturated likelihood is a kind of a likelihood where the parameters is replaced by the observation. The saturated model uses the same distribution and the same link function as the current model. Okay, so here whatever the saturated likelihood you are applying, it has the same link function, same distribution, whatever the current model has, but has as many parameters as there are data points. As such, it fits the data perfectly. It means that saturated model also having a same distribution, also having a same link function as compared to what the current model we have. Current model means which model we have considered for the fitting of the data. For example, if we have taken the passing rate example, what was our model? Ln mu upon 1 minus mu is equal to alpha I plus beta 1 n plus beta 2 s. So that was the model under consideration. But if I will replace all the parameters by the data point, then that likelihood become that model become the saturated model. It has the same distribution, it has the same link function, it has the same linear predictor. We can then compare our model to the saturated model to see how good a fit it is. So what we do now, we know about the saturated models. Now we compare our models with the saturated model to see that how good a fit is. That means suppose current model or fitted model is very close to saturated model, means we can say that our model fitting well to the data. If the difference between the model consideration and the saturated models is large, then we can say that this model is not suitable for the data. One has to look for the another model. Suppose that capital L suffix s and capital LM denote the likelihood function of the saturated and the current model. Here S for the saturated and M for the current models. And both are nothing but capital L represent the likelihood. So LS and LM denote the likelihood functions of the saturated and the current models evaluated at their respective optimal parameters value. So this is likelihood which is obtained or evaluated at respective optimal parameter of a saturated models, and LM is nothing but the likelihood of the models which is optimized at the current model's parameter value. So if you take this ratio of LS upon LM, so it is known as the likelihood ratio statistics. Remember the second semester classical theory of inference. You have taken the likelihood under H naught and likelihood under the alternative hypothesis. You call them as the L small omega, and under parametric space you call them as a L capital omega. And you have taken the ratio of likelihood under the null hypothesis divided by likelihood under the entire parametric space. So you call them as a likelihood ratio test. Here you can see the ratio is different. In our setup, LS means it is a likelihood under the entire parametric space, where all parameters is replaced by the observation. And LM is nothing but likelihood under consideration. In second semester, we have written LM upon, or you can say that LH not upon LH1, or you can say L small omega upon L capital omega. And that is how it is a likelihood ratio test. And then you say that the minus twice of log likelihood follow the chi-square distribution. In our setup, here it is a ratio. So when it is a ratio is given, that means minus sign is, if you take the log, then minus sign is cancel out. So in our setup, it is a twice of LS upon LM follow the chi-square distribution. We will see later on. So in short, deviance is nothing but it is a likelihood ratio statistics. In likelihood ratio statistics second semester, you said Lm upon, or you can say that L small omega upon L capital omega is close to 1. What it means? You say that the model under H0 and under H1 remain the same. That means null hypothesis is accepted. But if that value is near to 0, it means the model under consideration under H0 as well as the H1 are significantly differ from each other. So here, when you say that your null is converts to alternative in likelihood ratio when lambda close to 1. Similarly, here it is a minimum value will be, what should be the minimum value? Minimum value will be 1 and maximum is infinity, because suppose Lm close to 0, so this ratio become the infinity. Anyhow, we will see again later. If the current model describes the data well, then the value of Lm should be close to value of Ls, because we said that Ls means it is the best fit of a data. It is the model which is fitting well to the data. So if Lm closes to Ls, it means whatever the model we have considered, or you can say the current models, is actually describes the data well, and that is our aim. Our aim is that whatever the models we have considered, whether it is describing the data well, whether it is modeling the data well, if yes, we are very happy and go for the prediction. So in short, we have to see that the Lm should be very close to Ls, then the current model describes the data well. If the model is poor, then the value of Lm will be much smaller than the value of Ls. So if the model is poor, then there is a large difference between Lm and Ls, or you can say that Lm is very much smaller than the Ls. And the likelihood ratio statistics will be large, because if Lm is small, Ls is large, then the likelihood ratio statistics will be large. Alternatively, we can also write in the form of a log likelihood. So log of Ls upon Lm is, it is a log of Ls minus log of Lm. So log of capital Ls is given as a small ls, and log of capital Lm is given as a small lm. So it can be written as a Ls minus Lm. So this is called the deviance, but actually we are saying coin the word deviance, but actually we are using the scale deviance. So scale deviance is defined as a twice of the difference between the log likelihood of the model under consideration, that is the current model, and the saturated model. So scale deviance is nothing but the difference between the twice difference between the saturated models and the model under consideration, and we denote them as a capital S. And if you find out the deviance, so just divide by the dm by the phi, you can have the scale deviance. So this is both giving the same, but remember that we are not interested in the phi, so we are always looking for this, because we are not interested in the scale parameter. We are only interested in the expected response. So we always look for the deviance formula is this: S is equal to twice of Ls minus Lm. Is that clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So how will you say that the model is really fitting well to the data based on deviance? Under which condition we say that this model under consideration is best describe the data? Can you give any comment based on this formula?
S tends to 0, S closer to 0, the data will fit, model is good.
Very good. So it means that when S is closer to 0, so under which condition S is closer to 0? When LS and LM, difference between LS and LM is closer.
Small.
0.
That means LM
Equal.
is closest to LS. Then we say that the current model describes the data well. So that is how usually in examination as well as in the comparison of two models in the practical life, we take the decision based on the deviance. A model which has the smaller deviance is considered to be a
Good
Base
fit.
model.
best
Base model.
model which describe the data well.
Very.
So in second semester we said lower the AIC, lower the BIC, better the model. So this is another criteria: lower the deviance, better the model.
Model.
In the range of model, decisions should be taken for a good model. Smaller the deviance, the better the model fit from the point of view of model fit. So if the deviance value is small, we say that the model fits well to the data. However, there will be a trade-off there. Remember in the second semester we talk about the regression analysis. Higher the R square, better the model. So when the R square is higher, when you add more and more and more parameters, what happen? Variables or the parameters, then what happen? R square is always high.
Increase.
It is increasing. So it doesn't mean that the higher R square is always better the model, because when you achieve the high R square, simultaneously you achieve the high complexity in the model,
Model.
and therefore you require some balance between the addition of a variable and higher R square, and that is how you can go for the applying the penalty. You can go for the adjusted R square, AIC, BIC, etc. The same problem is here. See, in likelihood, if you add one more variable, what happens? You can have more information. And when more information, what happens? The likelihood value is higher. So log likelihood is also higher. And when the log likelihood is also higher, what happens? This LS is a fix because it is the data. Maximum value will be here. But when you add a variable, what happens? The log likelihood under model consideration is always increasing, and when it is increasing the difference is smaller, so deviance is also reducing. So here it means if you add more variables, deviance is always reducing. It is not the case that the deviance can increase. Okay, so when you increase some more information, of course likelihood contain information, and when you have a more information, you can say that it describes the data well, but simultaneously it is also increasing the complexity, and that is how we have to have a some sort of trade-off between them. A model with many parameters will fit the data well, similar to R square. However, a model with too many parameters will be difficult and complex to build and will not necessarily lead to better prediction in future. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it means
Yes, sir.
when you add more parameters, models become more difficult, and when the models is more difficult, it is very difficult also for the future prediction, and therefore it is possible for the models to be over parameterized. So in this situation what happens, the models is over parameterized. Over parameterized means आपको जरूरत नहीं उससे भी ज्यादा वेरिएबल आपने मॉडल में लिए हैं, ठीक है, unnecessary complexity आपकी बढ़ रही है, तो we can say that the over parameterized, that is factors are included that lead to a slightly but not significantly better fit. So when you say that over parameterized means if you add variable it will increase the information contained in the model, but it does not increase the fit significantly. It increases the fit. It will increase as you increase the number of parameters. But can we say that fit is significantly? No. So that is how we have to decide which variable should be added under which conditions while comparing the two models. So when choosing a linear models, you will usually need to strike a balance between model with too few parameters and one with too many parameters. So you should not go with only a model because oh my complexity is increasing. So let me take only fewer number of parameters. But if you take fewer number of parameters, it means if you take fewer number of variables, what happens? You can have the little information about the model in terms of a goodness of fit criterion. If you take higher number of variable, then you can have lots of information about the model with respect to the goodness of fit criterion, but the models become the very complex. So that is how you have, these are two extreme points. You should not look for this extreme. You try to be set into the somewhere in the range of these two extreme points. We will get the some idea considering the case when the data are normally distributed. In this case, so let us understand by the normal distribution. In this case, log likelihood of the sample size n. So we know that fy is nothing but 1 upon root 2 pi sigma e raised to minus half yi minus mu I upon sigma raised to 2. And when we have n observation, we write the likelihood and then we take the log. We can have a log likelihood, and the form of the log likelihood of a normal distribution is this. For the saturated model, what I say that in a saturated model, wherever you get the parameters, it should be replaced by the data. So here you can say that we are only interested in the natural parameters. We are not interested in the scale parameters. So we look only that. So here theta I is my natural parameters, and what will be right by theta I? Theta I is equal to mu I, and mu I is equal to, you can write the yi. So when you write the theta equal to yi, for whom? When we calculate the saturated models, then this yi minus yi 0, so that means this second term is vanishing. And for a likelihood under model consideration, theta I replaced by their estimate, that is the theta I cap. So the second for the likelihood under model consideration will be this minus yi minus theta h square upon sigma square, and twice of ls minus lm will be this quantity. So let us, you can understand from this part very well. This is my form of the deviance. S is equal to twice of ls minus lm. LS is a saturated model, like log likelihood for a saturated model, and LM is a log likelihood for a current model. So we know that the probability density function of a normal distribution is 1 upon root 2 pi sigma e raised to minus half summation I running from 1 to, sorry, this is not the summation here, yi minus mu upon sigma square. Summation is not there. Okay. So when you write the log likelihood, so likelihood is joint of a density. So it's the pi I running from 1 to n. Here in likelihood the parameter is also not the fixed. So it is 1 upon root 2 pi sigma e raised to minus half of yi minus mu whole square. Just take the substitute it, you will get this form, and take the log likelihood, you will get this form. That is what you are getting here. Here I have replaced theta I by the mu I. Okay. So when you calculated this log likelihood under saturated, wherever the mu I is there, mu I is nothing but the expected response, just replaced by the yi. So you can say that I have replaced this mu I by the yi. So this part is 0, so you will get ls equal to this term. And under the current model, wherever the mu I is there, I have to replace by its estimated maximum likelihood estimated by the, that is the mu I cap. So you just write here minus this yi minus mu I cap square upon sigma. So this is what you can. Okay. Now what is the deviance? It is the twice of ls minus lm. Now you can see that this is ls, this is lm. So if you take minus, this part will be cancelled out with this, and this part is not there, so you can have only this part. But this is the ls minus lm, so now this minus sign is gone, so you can have half of yi minus mu I cap upon sigma square. But the 2 is outside, so 2 to cancel out. This is not, this minus sign is also vanished with that. Okay, so you can have this deviance. So this is the form of the deviance under the normal distribution. Here mu I cap is replaced by the theta I. So where theta I cap is the fitted value of the current model. So you can see that what is the form of deviance? The form of deviance is this. Okay, so we are talking about the scale deviance. So what is the phi in the normal distribution? It is a sigma square. So what is the actually a form of the deviance? It is the summation I running from 1 to n yi minus theta I cap square. Theta I is identical to mu I, so we can also write that summation I running from 1 to m yi minus theta I cap square. Okay, or that is mu I cap square. And what is this? It is a least square criterion. It is the sum of square due to residuals. So actually, whatever the value of deviance you are actually obtaining, it is nothing but you are finding out the residual sum of square. You can verify it. Just you can substitute the various form of the deviance, and you can take the various residual sum of square form. You will get the same. So in short, in second semester, whatever the goodness of fit criterion we have used, we have obtained the estimate of the parameters by minimizing the sum of square due to residuals. So here we have obtained the estimate of parameters by minimizing the deviance. Sometimes it is also known as a residual deviance as well. Thus, it can be seen that deviance is a measure of the fit of the model. For normally distributed data, the scale deviance has the chi-square distribution. So as I say that it is a twice of ls minus lm. So it is nothing but the likelihood ratio, and it has a chi-square distribution, asymptotically chi-square distribution. So far we have ignored the problem of scale parameter, which may also be calculated. Here we have not considered the sigma square, but suppose if we are interested to obtain the estimate of sigma square, we can also obtain. In the case of data that are not normally distributed, the scale parameter may be known. For example, for a Poisson distribution, what is the scale parameter? It is a 1, phi equal to 1. And the deviant has a asymptotically chi-square distribution. For this reason, the common procedure is to compare two models by looking at the difference in the deviance and comparing this with the chi-square distribution. So if I wish to compare two models, how to compare two models? I know that the deviance has the asymptotically chi-square distribution. So whether the added variable is really significantly improve the models or not, how should I compare? I should compare based on the difference in the deviance, because deviance is the chi-square. So by additivity property, the sum of the chi-square having a chi-square, the difference of chi-square is also chi-square with respective degree of freedom. So here we also compare two different models based on the deviance and comparing with the help of chi-square distribution. So let us see. a significant value at 5% level for a chi-square distribution with new degree of freedom is approximately 2 nu. See, we know that what is the mean of chi-square distribution? Let us say chi-square m. A random variable y follows the chi-square with degree of freedom m. What is the mean of y? Mean of y is m. That is the degree of freedom of a chi-square distribution. And what is the variance? It is a twice of m. So here the same thing. Suppose if you are talking about the significant level at the 5% for a chi-square distribution with new degree of freedom, that approximately value is a twice of mu. Let us say that you take the chi-square alpha with new degree of freedom, alpha equal to 0.05. So what is their value count? It is a 2 of nu. Thus, if you want to decide if the model 2 has p parameters, if the model 2 has a p parameter and the deviance S2 has a significant improvement over the model 1, which has a q parameters and deviance S1. Remember, model 2, which has how many parameters? P parameter. Model 2, which has how many parameters?
Q parameters.
Q parameters. Let me repeat again. If we want to decide if the model 2, which has the P parameters and deviance is S2, तो इट मीन्स नंबर ऑफ पैरामीटर्स ज्यादा है तो डेविएंस की वैल्यू क्या होगी? ज्यादा होगी कम होगी?
कम होगी.
कम होगी. ओके, तो दैट मीन्स द S2 इज द डेविएंस, तो उसकी वैल्यू क्या होगी? कम होनी चाहिए. किसके कंपेयर में? जिसमें कम पैरामीटर्स है. ठीक है. एंड फर्स्ट मॉडल हैविंग ए Q पैरामीटर्स विद द डेविएंस इज S1. तो सपोज Q is a less than the P. That means number of parameters in the model 1 is the less than the number of parameters in the model 2. Then the deviance of the first model is higher than the deviance of the second model because कम parameter है तो deviance की value क्या होगी? ज्यादा होगी. तो S1 is more than the S2. That is how it is written, S1 minus S2. So because S1 is a deviance, S2 is also deviance, both having a chi-square distribution. So this is a again a difference is a chi-square. And what is the degree of freedom? The degree of freedom is nothing but the difference between the degree of freedom of the model 2 and model 1. So that is, it is nothing but the P minus Q. Getting my point? So now here I am saying that whether the second model having a significant improvement over the model 1 or not. How will you decide? You can decide based on the difference of the deviance, and you can compare with the chi-square P minus Q. So let us write here. This is the model M1. What is the model? It is y is equal to, let us say, b0 plus b1 x1 plus b2 x2. Okay, and this is the model 2. Of course, model कैसे होने चाहिए? They should be of a saturated nature. So what happened? I have added here the third variable x3. Can you see this? Okay. So in this model, what happened? I have only two variables x1 and x2. I call them as a model 1, and the P will be, sorry, Q will be, how many Q? Q will be 3 because there are 3 parameters. Here P will be, because it is the model 2 having a parameters, it is a 4. We call them as a deviance is S1, and this is a deviance is S2. What is the degree of freedom? So there are n observations, so n minus q, and here it is a n minus p, degree of freedom. Now what I say that the second model having a significant improvement over the first model. It means that whatever the variable I have added in the second model, that is the x3, whether x3 variable is really important for the model fitting or not. So how should I compare? Because as I said that if you add the variable, what happens? The deviance is decreasing. If you add one more variable, this deviance will be further decreasing. Okay, so that means adding of a variable always decrease the variance, and we say that the added variable, because deviance is decreasing, it means that added variable is important. But whether that added variable is really decreasing the deviance significantly, that means that variable is significantly contributing the model or not. So that is how you have find out the difference in the deviance. As I say that the number of parameters are less, so the deviance value will be higher, and number of parameters are more, the deviance will be lower. So difference between the deviance I will calculate. It has the chi-square distribution, and what is the degree of freedom? The degree of freedom is, what is the degree of freedom S1? It is n minus
Q.
N minus Q.
q, and another is a S2P,
N
n
minus
minus
P.
p.
N minus P.
So what happened? This is n minus q, then minus n plus p. So that is cancel out, and it is a p minus q.
Q.
Okay, and that is how the difference of deviance having a chi-square distribution with degree of freedom p minus q.
Q.
Is that clear? So you can see that
Yes.
the model is of a nested in nature. Deviance can work only if the model is of a nested in nature. The first model is a sub model of the second model. You can see that the first model is already, you can see in the second model. Just I have added one more term, beta 3 x3 in the second model. So first model is always a subset of the second model. So it is a kind of a nest structure, and that is how it is called a nested model. So deviance can be a goodness of fit criteria for a comparing two models when we use the nested kind of a model consideration. If there are number of variables are less or number of parameters are less, the deviance is higher as compared to the number of parameters are more, deviance is the lower. And the difference between the deviance is follows the asymptotically chi-square distribution with difference in their corresponding degree of freedom. So that is what we have obtained here. And what is the approximate value of the chi-square alpha with new degree of freedom? It is a 2 nu. So in our case, what is that? It is a twice of p minus q. Okay. So in short, we have to take a decision. If chi-square calculated exceed the chi-square tabulated, we reject h naught. And when we reject h naught means, what is the null hypothesis in this setup? The null hypothesis is B3 equal to 0. That means when the S1 minus S2, this is the chi-square calculated, is compared with the chi-square tabulated, and if the hypothesis is rejected, it means beta 3 is not 0. Beta 3 is not 0, it means that x3 is an important variable. We can add this variable in our model. So what was the critical value? Approximately it is a 2 nu, and in our case nu is equal to p minus q. So if the S1 minus S2 is greater than twice of p minus q, we can say that the model 2 having a significant improvement over the model 1. So that you can see here. If we let LQ and LP denote the log likelihood of the models with Q and P parameters respectively. Okay. LQ, it is the log likelihood of the model having a Q parameters. So which model? It is the model 1. And LP is the log likelihood of the model under consideration which is having a P parameter. So it is a model 2. So you can write S1 minus S2 is, we know this formula, S1 is twice of LS minus LQ and S2 is minus twice of LS minus LP. So that means this 2LS and minus 2LS is cancel out, and that is minus 2LQ plus 2LP. If we take minus sign out, so it is a minus twice of LQ minus LP. Okay, it is a very simple. You just calculate it. So S1 minus S2 will be this quantity, and model 2 will be preferred over the model 1 if S1 minus S2 is greater than twice of P minus Q. Here, the model 2 will be preferred over the model 1 if S1 minus S2 is greater than twice of 2 times P minus Q. So that is what it is written. So when you say that the second model is preferred over the model 1, when the difference of the deviance is exceed the twice of the difference in the parameters in the consider of the model. What is the P? P is the number of parameters of model 2. Q is the number of parameters of the model 1. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So it means when we apply the deviance for a comparison of two models, first is that model should be of a nested in nature. Regression must be the same, of course. And if you don't want to go for the table value, you should know that how many number of parameters in the model 1 and model 2. Just take the difference between the deviance of the two models and compare the twice of the corresponding difference of the parameters, and if it exceed, we say that the second model is preferred over the first model. For example, the comparison is possible if it is for a nested models. In other words, model 1 must be submodel of the model 2. Let us say here I have taken the model 1, that is the linear predictors having the model 1 is beta 0 plus beta 1 x, and model 2 having the linear predictors beta 0 plus beta 1 x square. So you can see that this model linear predictor is a part of this. It means the model 1 is a submodel of model 2, and whenever this is the scenario, you can compare the two models. But while comparison, you should also see that the distribution of the data and link function also remain the same. You cannot take one having a probit link and another having a logit link. No, link function should be same, distribution of data also be the same. Then you can compare both the models based on a deviance. So deviance of this model is called S1, deviance of this model is called S2, S1 minus S2. How many parameters here? It is a 2. How many parameters here? It is a 3. So 3 minus 2 is a 1. So that means it should be compared with the chi-square 1 alpha. And we said that approximately value of chi-square 1 alpha is twice of 1. That is a twice. So if we say that the difference between the deviance, that is S1 minus S2, is exceed the twice, then we say that this x square is important compared to the previous model. That means the second model is preferred over the first model. It means we can keep this quadratic term in the model. And if it is less than 1, less than 2, then we say that the null hypothesis is accepted. It means beta 2 is 0. It means there is no need of adding this term in the models. You can go with this model only. Is that okay? Okay. Now, suppose we have this model and second model will be this. Can we compare? Hello.
No, sir.
Can we compare this two model
No,
based on deviance?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Why?
because one is log.
Beta
Because
1 above phase 2.
So you can say that the
Sir, logit and probit. I think.
correct.
इसमें लॉजिक एंड प्रॉबिट की तो बात ही नहीं है. पहले तो दे आर नॉट नेस्टेड इन कंपैरिजन, and when they are not nested in nature we cannot use the deviance. If we compare these two model based on the AIC, because AIC does not require the nested kind of a model structure. Okay, so that is how most of the time we will prefer the big information criterion to compare the two models. In short, if it is a nested in nature, we can compare. If it is not, we cannot compare based on the deviance. We can compare, but not based on the deviance. For the above discussion, it is clear that we can identify the importance factors by examining the scale deviances, but we can not use the testing procedure outlined above. Okay. So if it is of a nested comparison, then you can go for the testing procedure. Otherwise, you cannot apply the testing procedure. Of course, if the larger value of deviance is reducing, you can say that the added variable is important. Okay. Now, suppose I am interested to, before going to this part, if I am interested to find out the deviance of the other distribution. This is I have obtained for the deviance for the normal distribution. Okay. Suppose I wish to find out the deviance for a Poisson distribution. How to obtain? So what we require? We require the probability mass function. What is the probability mass function of a Poisson distribution? This. Okay. And then we have to write the likelihood function. So likelihood function is the joint of probability mass function, and you can have this form. Then you take the log likelihood. So just this is the log likelihood, this is the minus this quantity mu into log of summation, uh, summation yi into log mu I, and this is what? This is the product here, it is mu suffix I. So this is the log likelihood. Now what is the saturated? Wherever you get the parameter, just replaced by the data. So what is the data? It is expected count. So yi is also a count. So we just replace the mu I by the yi. So that is the log likelihood and the saturated model. We call them as LS. What about the current model? So wherever you get the mu I, just replaced by the maximum likelihood estimator. So mu I replaced by the mu I cap. So this is the mu I cap yi minus 3. And what is the deviance? It is the twice of this. So just take the difference, twice of this. This is minus common out, so yi minus mu I cap. That is the, and here this is yi, this is yi minus, but ln yi minus ln mu I cap is ln yi upon mu I cap. I have written this term first, and this quantity is a minus of yi minus mu I cap, and it is a twice. So this is the twice of this. So this is giving the deviance form for the Poisson distribution. So can you obtain the such form of a deviance for the other distribution function? Because I will give. So this is the form of the deviance function. You can note down it, because I have given the method to obtain the form of deviance for the normal distribution. and Poisson distribution you have to obtain for the binomial gamma. I will later on give you the PDF of inverse gamma so that you can also calculate the inverse Gaussian distribution. So how to obtain the form of deviance? It is a twice of LS minus LM. LS means log likelihood under saturated model. LM means log likelihood under the current model. When we calculate the saturated likelihood, what we do? Wherever there is a parameters in the log likelihood, we replace parameter by the data point. Suppose it is a count, so mu I is a expected count, so we can replace mu I by the yi. Okay, but suppose if it is a binomial distribution, if mu I is there, then mu I is a proportion. So mu I can be replaced by the data point as a yi upon ni. Okay, yi upon ni, because yi is the, let us say, number of successes. So ni is the number of trial. Then what is the proportion of successes? That is called the mu I. So you have to just substitute the parameters by the corresponding data point. Okay. I will see this part of calculating the deviance from the exponential family. But let me take this example to understand how the deviance is important. To illustrate the use of deviance in the model choice, we consider a set of data relating to the motor claims. मतलब कार एक्सीडेंट हुआ उसका claim किया है, so that is called the motor claims. This data is taken from the McGulla. In 1985, McGulla has written the monograph. So this data set is them, and this data set is also inbuilt available in the R. Called the file name is Insure. Okay. There are three factors: policyholder age, we call them as a PA; vehicle age, we call them as a VA; and car rating group, we call them as a CG. Means accident हो रहा है, so there are three factors which are responsible. कि भाई, what is the age of policyholder? Then what is the age of vehicle? Whether a vehicle was old, vehicle is 5-year-old, 3-year-old, 10-year-old. Of course, if it is a 10-year-old, there is a more chance of accident. If it is a new, again there is a more chance of accident. Car rating group. What is the group of rating of the car? Okay. Whether it is in the category A, B, C, something like that. So scale deviance for the complete range of possible models are given. Suppose none of the parameters are considered. One means none of the parameters. It is under the null model. Okay. Then the deviance value will be this. Then if you add the policyholder age, so how many, why it is the 122? So here it is given. In original data, 8 different age groups of policyholder. How many age groups are given? 8. How many car vehicle groups are given? It is a 4. And what is the vehicle age group? It is a 4. So if you multiply 8, 4 the 32, 4 the 4, that means 144, is it? 128, it is a 128. And out of 128 possible combination, 5 of the cells were empty. So total, how many cases are we have? 123. And each cell contained the average amount of claim. Okay. So यहाँ पे suppose policy holder की age is, let us say, 18 to 25. Vehicle age is, let us say, 3 years, and car rating group is A. Then how many accidents are taking place in a such group? So let us say 100. What is the total amount of claim? Let us say 1 lakh. Then what is the average claim? So 1 lakh divided by the 100, it is 1,000 per claim. So average claim is 1,000. So such figure is given as a response. Average claim. So here how many total cases? 123. And because it is a null model, so you are losing 1 degree of freedom. The degree of freedom is a 122. Now, if you add policyholder age, how many groups? Policyholder group is 8. So 122. Policyholder age is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. So 122 minus 7 is 115. So likewise, this is where the degree of freedoms are calculated. If we have a null model, the deviance value was the highest. As we added some parameters, the deviance is reducing. You can see that as you adding the number of parameters or number of variables in your model, the deviance is decreasing and it reached to the 0. When it reached to 0, when all the data point is replaced by the parameters, that means you are reaching to the saturated condition. So that deviance is 0. Now, what is the difference between these two? It is given this. Difference between these two, it is here. Difference between
Yes.
these two, it is here. Okay. Now, similarly, degree of freedom, difference between these two degree of freedom, 122 minus 115 is 7.
7.
115 minus 112 is 3.
3.
So this is given. And now remember our criterion, the difference between deviance is greater than the twice of difference of degree of freedom. So here twice of this is here, 2 into 7 is 14. So 81 is greater than 14. Yes. If yes, it means that you can add policyholder as one of the important variables. Now, if you come to this point, in policyholder, if we add car rating group, what happens? The difference between the deviance is 226, and difference between degree of freedom is 3. So multiply by 2, it is a 6. So 226 is greater than 6. Yes, that means the car rating group is also equally important to claim the model size. Now we have added the vehicle age. You can see that 204 is greater than 6 because multiply by 2 is 6. Yes, so that means this is also equally important. Now we have added the interaction effect. Okay, policyholder age and car rating group. What is that? It is a 3-4. So 34 is greater than twice of this. Yes or no?
No.
No. Why? Because it is a 42 and 34 is less than the 42.
Less than that.
So it is suggesting that there is no need of this interaction term. Okay.
Right.
And hence your final model will be this. You have to only consider the main effect of the policyholder, age, car rating group, and vehicle age. No need of an interaction model. So this can be decided based on the difference in the deviance. But when it is possible when the model is of a nested in nature. You can see that the PA is a subpart of PA plus CG. PA plus CG is a subpart of PA plus CG plus VA. So likewise, these models are of nested in nature. Is that clear?
Yes.
So this is where you have to take the decision based on the product. In tomorrow lecture, we will see that I have here shown you the form of deviance based on the just calculated the saturated model, calculated the likelihood under model consideration, take the difference and take the twice of that, you will get the form of the deviance. Tomorrow we will see that for each distribution, why should we consider the LS and LM? Can we directly write the form of the deviance of the exponential family of distribution and then replace by the parameters of each distribution, we can get the form of the deviance. So this is another way we can compare tomorrow. Any questions so far, anyone? Any question? So what is the use of deviance? It is mainly a measure of goodness of fit. Lower the deviance, better the model. And to compare the two models based on the deviance, make sure that two models should be of nested in nature. That means the first model is a submodel of the second model. Then you can compare the two deviants. Now you can take the decision whether the second model is preferred over the first model or not. That means the added variable is significant for the model development or not. So that can be decided based on the difference of the deviance. So it is a difference of the deviance of the first model and the second model is greater than the twice of the respective difference of degree of freedom, then we say that the added variable is
Significant.
significant over the first model. So we have obtained the form of the deviance for the normal distribution as well as the Poisson distribution. I have given the homework for the binomial distribution as well as the gamma distribution to you. What we have to obtain? We have to just write down the density function, then we write the likelihood function, then we take the log likelihood, then we take the when we find the log likelihood under saturated models, means wherever the parameters replaced by the data, then we write the log likelihood of model under consideration LM. So parameter is replaced by their estimate because we are using the maximum likelihood estimate, so we will substitute the MLEs, then take the difference between the LS and LM and then multiply by twice. It is giving the form of deviance. Okay, so what is the form of the deviance of the normal distribution? It is yi minus beta I cap or mu I cap square sum over. So it is nothing but the sum of square due to residual. And what is the form of the deviance in the binomial distribution? It is a twice of summation I running from 1 to capital N yi minus yi into ln yi upon mu I minus yi minus mu I. Okay, so this is the form of the Poisson deviance for a Poisson distribution. Then we have taken the one example of a motor claim where we have a total 128 cells having a 3 different variables: policy holder, age, having 8 categories, car, vehicle, group, age. Car age is having a 4 category, and the vehicle rating or vehicle group having a 4 category. So 8 into 4 into 4 into 2, 128 observation. Out of there are 5 cells empty, so we have a 123 observations, and each observation is nothing but the average claim size under that combination. And then we have obtained the different we have seen the different combinations or the various models, and based on the deviance we have decided which model is finally important. So we have come to know from the table of the deviances calculated for all possible combinations, we identify that the PA plus VA plus CG is the best model. That means only the main effects are important. There is no important of the significant effect. Okay. Any questions so far? Anyone?
No, sir.
So I will again update this into the channel.